And this is the Speak Easy podcast, the behind the scenes of what it is to be the successfully paid speaker and author. I am your host, Altavis Pelzer, the voice coach, professional speaker, certified life coach, Amazon bestselling author, and founder of the World Voice League. Yes, hi guys. I'm super excited about our topic today. I'm gonna tell you why. Because me had to learn, yes, me, not I, me, had to learn this the hard way, that you really have to take care of self. And there's some things that you have to do for self. And it means that sometimes you may have to say no. It means that sometimes you may have to go in a different direction. And it doesn't always feel the best, but it's going to work out for the best. And so I'm excited, super excited about our guest today, Miss Jessica. And we're going to have this discussion because oftentimes I always hear from speakers who tell me, oh, you can't speak on 50 stages. Oh, it'll wear you out. You'll get burnt out. But the reality is that you can speak from as many stages or as little amount of stages as you like. It's all in how are you setting up yourself to be in preparation to do that. You can speak on 60 stages. Listen, Dr. Maya Angelou did 80 events a year. It's doable. But guess what? You got to be taking care of self, and that's mind, body, spirit. You got to be taking care of self all the way around. So, hey, Jessica.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here. And it's amazing. I wasn't sure exactly what piece of my story I'd be talking about today because there are many layers to my journey to entrepreneurship. But this is such divine timing because I actually just came back from 2 weeks in Hawaii. So spent about 5-6 days in Oahu and then a week in Maui for the first time in my business where I completely, for the 2 weeks, just stepped away. You know what? Talking about setting boundaries, talking about taking care of self, disconnecting. Did I feel the guilt? Absolutely, right? I absolutely felt the guilt, telling my clients, hey, I'm sorry, I will be unavailable. Really not sure if I'm going to have service, even though I may have. I was staying up in the mountains, however, in the upcountry, so probably didn't have such strong service, and there were some storms out there. But really the point being is that it's divine timing that this just happened. I'm slowly, and as I've learned through my journey of entrepreneurship, you have to slowly get back into that workspace, right? That routine, the rituals, right? Like you said, setting yourself up to be successful. Can you speak on 80, 90 stages a year? Absolutely, right? But I also believe, and this is something that sparked, as you were saying that, what really came to light for me is it's not necessarily, and this is something I always preach, in my work and to my clients, is it's not always the number of stages, it's the power of the message. It's the power, right? So you can have 5, right, stages that you're on a year, but if your message is powerful and you connect with that audience in a way that they will remember, right? Those golden nuggets they'll remember for the rest of their life. That's the impact that you want to make in the world. And I'm a huge advocate of that, right? Especially with all the noise on social media. People get really caught up in numbers. And it's funny because that's the life that I came from in my corporate path. So I used to work in corporate finance for 15 years, right? Being caught up in performance metrics and numbers and really needing the proof, right? How do I know that all of this is going to work out, right? How do I know that juice is worth the squeeze? And you may not always know, right? Just like you said, it may not pan out the way. Actually, most of the time it doesn't. But as human beings, we're so caught up in needing to know all the answers. And I think it's really powerful to know that in taking care of yourself, and really the best way that you can take care of yourself is to surrender the need to know all the answers and to trust. And that's not to say to sit on a mountain and meditate and pray and right, the universe is going to bring you abundant blessings, but to continue to make moves, but not to get too attached to that result. I think that's really, really key.
Okay, so you just hit the ground running with that one. And the word that always stands out for me was impact. Because a lot of times we as speakers, we as authors, listen, we're getting on the stage because we want to make what? An impact. We're writing the book because we want to make what? An impact. And yes, social media has kind of drowned all of that out in some areas, in some arenas. And even, I'm going to go as far as to say, even certain coaches have gone and kind of really drowned that out, that it's not so much about the impact, it's about the numbers. And so I can definitely see how, people can be led astray, people can run, and get caught up in the masses, but we're not really making the impact that's necessary. And so I'm going to ask this question first. When it comes to making an impact, what would you say would be a way to clarify, am I making an impact or am I just running on this hamster wheel?
That is an amazing question. And the first thing that comes to mind in that instance, and I know this sounds very simplistic, but if you're impacting, and this is something that ran through my mind when I was starting my business, right? Because when we're first starting out, nobody might know, right, who you are, right? So you're wondering, am I making an impact, right? I'm not getting out there and talking to thousands of people. But if you just impact one person with each time that you communicate, right? Whether that's on social media, whether that's a blog, whether that's with your book, right? If every day you're impacting at least one person, I would say you're making an impact, right? And you hear all of the famous speakers of the world, right? All of the greats, right? Whether it be in athletics, whether it be in entrepreneurship, right? What is the secret to their success, right? And a lot of them will tell you, and I study the greats because, I want to get to that level one day, and I'm already there, but you know what I mean? Like, I want to get to that Maya Angelou status one day, and having that impact, right? That world, that global impact. And they tell you is that they started small, right? They started small. And I think it's so important to know that making an impact is a series of small habits that you take, right? Small changes that you make every single day. And we get so caught up in making these big, right, grand changes when really it's about taking one step at a time. And it's funny I mentioned this. I've started doing this a lot with my clients, over the last few months, and they're loving it. I'm like, you know what? Spend 5 minutes a day on this and let's see where it goes from there, and document it, right? We're so worried about the numbers, but I told one of my clients, speak to a study, right? So let's say you spend the next 30 days, 5 minutes a day in your business, right? Because she's extremely busy. She still works full time. She's kind of ramping up to step away from her corporate path. And I said, and just document that. Document, what do you do in those 5 minutes a day? What's changed? And at the end of the 30 days, then you can look back. And that's the beauty, right, of all of this and making these small changes over time. I forget the exact quote, but it came from an artist that said, great things are made of a series of small things put together. Right? The compound effect. And that's what's so beautiful. She's amidst doing that now. And she already emailed me the other day, like, oh my God, I absolutely love this. Like, I'm just spending 5 minutes. Sometimes if I'm inspired, maybe 20, 30 minutes towards building my business, right? Getting offers, writing my blog, writing my book, preparing my speech, right? Whether that's on Facebook Live or in front of a live audience, starting with one word at a time, right? And sometimes that one word tweak, that's the power of words, is a change in one word in your messaging or in your title, right? A book, right? That has so much impact. What inspires somebody to open your book, to read your book, to buy your book, is the power of those few words as to how that person can connect, right? It's really all about connection to that message, right? It's not about what you want to say. It's about what the person on the other end feels in their connection to your message.
So I'm sitting here and I'm like geeking out because I'm like, yes. Jessica is giving me feels right now. Yes. It's interesting, and the more and more that I have speakers on, the more and more that I have authors on, those who have been in the industry for years and years, and those who are just getting started, you always have to go back to, listen, why did you get started?
Yes.
What was your original? It was to make that impact. Why did you get started? It was so someone didn't go through what you went through. Why did you want to speak and tell your story? It was so that way you could change somebody else's life. And then it kind of down the road, we kind of took a left when we should have went right. We should have stayed straight, and we kind of turned back around. And so when getting refocused, what would you say is something they should do? So they started out great. They started out amazing. And now they've gotten to this point where they literally wake up in the morning and they're looking at the ceiling going, why am I doing this again?
Yes. Yes. So I'm so happy that you asked that question. If it's okay with your listeners, maybe at the end, I have a free gift for them that will really bring this whole concept to life, but I'll introduce it now. And you nailed it by saying, remembering why, right? So there's this grand connection, right, to universe, spirit, to your mission, your purpose. I always say the day you were born is the day the universe decided that it needed you. So remembering that, right, that's that fuel, that's that motivation. But what keeps, right, that fuel going, what's going to fuel that is the habits, right? Those are the steps that you took when you were in that space where you felt deeply connected, where you did, right, feel like you were on the right path, right? And somewhere along the line, we fell off, and that's okay. And we will, because we're totally human. I actually say failing is a good thing, right? Or taking a misstep is a good thing because it shows you exactly what you're not going to do next time, right? So that's a real aha moment, right? We're so afraid to fail, but sometimes, as I call them pebbles on your path, those little pebbles, they're just there to show you. It's a place of healing to show you, hey, this still needs a little bit of attention, right? Maybe I felt like I moved past it, but I didn't because it's still coming up in my life. And so that's there to help you. That's there to guide you. That's a light bulb moment that's going to take you the distance. But I think what's really important to get back, and I'm really glad you asked this question because I went through it a few weeks ago. I came back from this vacation. I was just like, not in the mood, you know, when I'm still like in island mode. And I'm like, man, I need a real kick in the pants to get back to this high energy work that I've been doing. And my husband's like, I started to get all these ideas and I'm like, God, why does this all come to me at like 8:00 at night? And then during the day, sometimes I'm stuck in these spirals and I'm on social media and right, you just get all over the place. And we do that as entrepreneurs. And he goes, write down those steps, right? And this is totally different for everybody. But what are those, I call them rituals of revival, right? They get you back to who, right? Speaking of mind, body empowerment, to who you know you truly are, right? Because when we were born, we were totally free, right? As a child, we were a free spirit. We had these passions. We had no reservations, right? As to what we could do, except that which maybe parents or right older figures told us what was possible. And then we got into adult mode, right? Where we felt like, okay, time to give up the dream, right? Time to, right, pay the bills and go through the motions and be everything to everybody. And we forget who we are at our core, right? We inherit all these stories, right? These layers. And so it's a matter of liberating those layers, right? One layer at a time and going back. And one of the easiest questions to ask yourself, and it is part of the freebie that I have at the end is what do you love? Or what did you love to do as a child? And I know this sounds completely random, but were you a ballet dancer? Were you an actress? Did you love music and singing? You know, what are those creative pursuits, right? Are you an artist? And how does the work that you do today or whatever it is that you've evolved, right, from childhood to adulthood, how has life changed? And this is exactly the steps that I took when I was building my business. I remember this as I was writing my Who Am I page on my website. And I'm like, who am I? I don't know. There's so many layers to my story, and it's a matter of rewinding back. And the Steve Jobs quote, he says it so beautifully, and I'm not going to remember it word for word. I don't have it written down, but life is a series of connecting the dots going backwards. And then you understand how it all, right, came to life, how every single choice you made, even though you went right and you thought you were supposed to go left, there was a purpose in it all, right? There was a divine lesson in each step that you took. And so in order to get back is to backtrack. Remember the first, just go back to step one. What is that first step that I took? What is that ritual of revival, right? So for me, when I get stuck, I have a deep connection to Mother Nature. And so that's as simple as just getting outside, taking a breath of fresh air and connecting to the earth, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's touching a tree, whether it's taking my shoes off, right? And getting my feet all into the sand or the grass and just feeling, right? That's where we come from. That's source, right? We are all products of the universe. And so that's the best way to kind of reconnect back to that original source. And then remember, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I doing what am I doing? What is my divine mission? What is my purpose? I was born, right, into this body, but why? And then what is the impact? What is the message? What is the legacy really that I'm here to leave? And how can I spread that message in a way, as you said so beautifully, will make an impact to humanity?
So very true. And, you know, a lot of times we forget that, guess what? We're not the only ones on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
not. And so I'm sitting here and the things that you're saying, I'm like, yes, yes, I'm right there with you. Why? Because we're not the only ones on the journey. That also means that there's somebody out there that has the answers to the questions that you've been having. There's somebody out there that can give the advice, and not just advice, not just 2 cents. We're not talking about, oh, no, you shouldn't do that because it's hard. No, no, no. I'm talking about the real advice that can propel you to a whole nother level. And so for you, who has been that person that has been able to really impact your life and pour into you as you pour into other people?
I've had many mentors along my path. And I love how you say that. The first thing that came to mind to me is perspective, right? So it's not about saying, okay, you shouldn't do this, or I don't believe in that. But I always say a master coach, a master mentor is somebody who helps you find the answers within yourself. They just ask the right questions. They help you come to the conclusion in a way that speaks to your soul, right? That resonates with you, that speaks your language. And if I can think to my greatest mentors, so of course I've had many coaches and guides on this path, but still to this day, it is Deepak Chopra. I love Deepak Chopra. And as I'm writing my book currently, you know, he's written 75 New York bestsellers, right? And the man still continues. He's in his mid 70s. I've seen him speak twice on a live stage. He just has a way with words that no matter how much you've heard it, he paints the picture in a totally different light every single time. You never hear the same thing twice. And he always has a way. And I think that's the key to being a master coach, is to show somebody, right, that different perspective, because we can only see things through our own eyes, right, with our own judgments, with our own perception, through our own lens. But it takes, right, somebody else sometimes to help you see things from a different perspective. And Deepak Chopra has inspired so much of my path. You know, speaking of rituals of revival and things you can do for yourself, every morning I meditate to, he has an app called Ananda that he's birthed through the Chopra Center. And I just can't explain to you, he's the only, and I've tried meditating with many different coaches and guides, but there's just something about that man. And I know he's done many 21-day meditations with Oprah as well. She's wonderful, the 21-day meditations. It's really about seeing how you connect, right, to that deeper message, to the deeper wisdom and the teachings. And I'm just so glad that the world has finally begun to wake up, right, to really see that, you know, life doesn't have to be the way everybody else told us that it should be, right? Again, all these stories that we've inherited along the way, and to see things with new eyes, right? And to know that, hey, yeah, this is possible, right? And that's also the secret of a great mentor, somebody that's going to help guide you along the way, is they're always going to give you that sense of hope that it is possible, because truly anything is. I mean, think about the universe. I always say this is the simplest way to be blown away by your potential, is to look up at the sky and to see what the universe has created, right? It's infinite, right? There's infinite stars, there's infinite sky, right? There's infinite nature, right? And we're just a piece of that. And Deepak always says that. He goes, we're 0.0001% of this universe. Not to say that we're insignificant, right? But to say how grand the universe is, and we're blessed to be a piece of that. And that's something that I remember every single day, right? Because sometimes we're not in the mood, right? Or we're just in a funk, or, right, we get distraught right along the way. We take a right instead of taking a left, you know, and what keeps you focused on that path, what helps keep me focused, is to know that I'm part of this grand design, right? And each person makes their mark in their own way. And that's such a beautiful thing.
Oh my goodness, I'm over here with the big smiles. You know, every time someone comes on the platform, I always ask them this question. is, on this journey, have you had any blunders? And literally, we've had people talk about anything from making their font size in their first book too small to wardrobe malfunctions. But, some people have gone a little deeper with different things that, they're like, yeah, that was an ouch moment. So in the journey that you have had so far, have there been any blunders or things that you look back on now and say, yeah, that wasn't the best choice?
Yes. So when I started, this is the first thing that comes to mind. Actually, when you said blunder at first, I thought about the moments when I started. And I always tell this story because listening to podcasts is what inspired me to step away from my corporate path. So I feel like it's my mission to continue, right, to share that, to, again, like I said before, give people the hope and let them know that, yes, this is possible. If I can do this, right, I don't have magic, right? I don't have any magic. It's just I believed in myself and my mission and continued to make moves. So the first blunder that really comes to mind, and there's twofold, is continuing to make moves. And I don't really think this is a blunder, but it's definitely a challenging emotion to go through, especially as an entrepreneur. And I always say entrepreneurship teaches you more about yourself than you'll ever learn, right? On any spiritual path, it teaches you so much about yourself that you will not learn, right, from any other thing. And so what I learned about myself in the beginning is that I cared way too much about producing a specific result for somebody rather, and I say this because I would be on the phone, I'd have these conversations, right? These clarity calls to get to know my audience, right? To see if they were a fit. I started off doing one-on-one coaching, and all of a sudden I'd look at the clock, speaking about energy, and 2 hours would go by. And I'm like, wow, I've given way too much information, number one, too much wisdom. Not that there's too much, but right, everything is energy, right? And you have to be reciprocated, right? It's just like the equivalent of a vase. And I love this visual. I heard this a while ago somewhere. I don't even remember where you have this vase and you're continuously pouring water out of the vase, right? Versus letting the vase fill completely and share from a place of overflow, right? So what I was doing in that instance, and this really transpired with everything, right? I was all over social media, right? I was spending an hour a day blogging, right? Instead of getting reciprocated that energy back, right, from others, allowing others to fill my vase so I can overflow from a place of being full, right? Being complete instead of continuously pouring out, right? And what am I pouring out in that instance? 10% of myself, 20% of myself, burning the candle on both ends, right? Being on the phone for 2 hours a day, right? Continuously giving without receiving. And I remember being on a call with a mentor, it was like 3 years ago. And, we're talking about pricing and our packages and all that, again, energy. And she's like, you give what? You give how much for what? And she's like, wow, no wonder you're burnt out because, right, the energy is not being reciprocated, right? What you give out is not necessarily an equivalent to what you get back. And that was a huge light bulb moment for me. And I think for so many entrepreneurs that they work so hard in their business, and it's really about working smart, right? It's really about giving just enough, but also making sure that you fill your vase so you can give from that place of overflow.
I had to learn that the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn that the hard way. As an introvert, I get my energy from just, sitting by myself, reading a book, dancing, but it's me. And then as a speaker, you're supposed to be in front of these different crowds and, networking events and all these different things. And so I definitely had to learn, okay, even when I'm at an event, I had to put some things in place for me and my sanity in order for me not to be burnt out, in order for me not to be stretched. And it was hard because when you're at an event, people are expecting you to be in the room and be amongst people. And I'm like, like leaving out the room to go sit by the pool, or going up to the room just to sit there for a little bit. And I really had to explain to people, it's great, because I host and I speak. So a lot of times, depending on the event, whose event it is, I may be hosting and speaking at that particular event. That's a lot for me.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
By the time lunch comes, I'm spent. I'm done. I'm ready.
Oh yeah, you're speaking my language, girl. And it's funny, you said you're an introvert. I would never have known that, right? Had you not said anything. And people say the same about me. I call myself, I'm very much introverted, but I'm an introverted extrovert, right? It's almost like something takes over me when I get on stage or I write. It's like this other voice takes over me and I become, right, a totally different being. But I can only do this, like you said, if I have that time out. Like whenever I go to live events or I host live, right, I always have to have that period where I go back to my room and I just have the moments of silence where I could hear myself speak again, right? Not being overpowered by others' energy. So I can refill my vase to then get back to others.
Exactly. I tell people, listen, I love y'all. I do. I really do. But networking events, that was the big one for me. It was networking events made me cringe.
Me too. Yes. Yes. Those like the Black Plague. I was like, oh no, like, because I knew that by the end of forget it, by lunchtime, I would be spent having all of these. And for me, it's having this small talk. Like I'm more of a deep thinker. I like to talk about real life and real things. And the kind of trivial small talk, that just drains me. Funny enough, right? You wouldn't think so, but after a while it just drains me. And it's funny because my husband's a complete opposite. Like he feeds off of other people's energy and he gets energy from others. So he loves being around crowds, loves being, right, these type of events. Whereas I'm like you, like I get energy from just sitting and reading a book, from sitting in stillness, listening to music, right? Just kind of tuning into my own energy. That's how I revive myself. But we have to be true to whoever we are, whether we're mainly extroverted, introverted, right? A blend of both. I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, I think finding that blend, because I know people often when they come on the show, they're like, "You're an introvert." I said, "Well, this is like my zone right here. I'm in my place, and you're there, and I get to talk to you, and then I get to go back to whatever I was doing." Yep. I mean, in all actuality, you don't even, especially when you're live streaming too, you don't even have to have on pants. I have on pants, people.
Oh my God, it's so funny you said that because see, I have this blouse on now and I actually do have like regular pants on, but I was like, I don't have to. I was debating just leaving my jammy shorts on. I was like, just because I love it, like I'm like, nobody knows if I'm wearing pajamas or not even wearing pants at all.
Exactly. You're looking at some of these people that are live streaming and they are all done up. They got the makeup on and beautiful blouse and necklace and everything. And on the bottom, they got on the pair of shorts, if they got anything on.
We'll leave that to my little secret.
But it's being comfortable, not comfortable to the fact that you're not going to move forward in your business and move forward as a speaker, right. But being comfortable in the fact that I need to know how to regenerate that energy for myself. I need to know what's going to work best for me. And if that means, for events, I may go in a day early and stay a day later. So that way I can, kind of decompress, because especially as a parent, when you get back home, there's no off switch for the kids.
Right. Exactly.
Kids, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, there's no off switch for them.
Yep.
It's just, it doesn't work that way. So by the time I get back, I have to be able to, take a little bit of time for myself and then get right back into, all right, back to the mom hat has to be on.
Yep. Wearing all the different hats and having your own off switch. You know what I mean? Like we can, like you said, you can't control everybody else's off switch, but we can control ours, right? And I think that's really, really important. And something else I just wanted to say real quick that reminded me about kind of the darkest moment or maybe a blunder. And I really say this is not a blunder. It was really a divine lesson. And it's something that I preach all the time. Again, this whole logic, right, versus spirit versus science versus knowing all the answers. And for me, it was moments where I literally had single digits in my bank account, right? And I don't call that a blunder because that was part of my path, right? I chose, and those of you listening may not know my story, but when I stepped away from my corporate path, I didn't have a plan. I didn't. I had 3 months worth of income to live off of. I live in California, so It's not cheap to live out here, right? It's one of the most expensive cities in the United States. I live near San Francisco, but that's just the kind of person I am. I'm like, if I'm going in, I'm going all in, right? And I'm putting all of my energy into this. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, guess what? I can go back to what I was doing before, right? So really, I have nothing to lose, right? You only lose the shots that you don't take, right? You'll always lose 100% of the shots, right, that you don't take. And to me, that was worth every single penny, right? Investing in mentors, investing in myself, right? Energetically, right, as we talked about, but also financially, right? So sometimes you kind of have to have your back against the wall to give you that motivation to move forward, right, in our business, right? So sometimes, yes, we don't want to burn the candle at both ends, right? That might have been a blunder, but in a way it motivated me to make moves that I may not have had the motivation, right, otherwise, because my back was against the wall, right? You kind of hit that darkest hour, and then it's like all of a sudden the door opens and you're like, wow, I could do this, right? I can do this. And it's learning from those experiences, right? The next time it happens again, you feel more and more confident because you're like, well, I've been there, I've done that, right? And I know exactly what I did last time to not repeat that again. And I'm going to maybe take a step in another direction, make a different choice, and make it happen in a way that, again, feels real to you.
I definitely love that, learning when to pivot. That's what's one of the things I'm always telling my clients, understand you have to be able to give yourself grace. You don't give yourself too much grace, but you also have to learn when to pivot, when something isn't working, when something is no longer pouring into you what you need. You got to learn to pivot and make some tough choices sometimes.
Yes.
Not always easy.
Let it go.
But doable.
Yeah.
Very doable. Oh my goodness, this has been an amazing episode. I appreciate you coming on. I want you to let everybody know where they can find you on social media and how they can get in contact with you for more information as well.
Perfect. So the best way to get in contact with me, I have 2 freebies for you all because I am a loving soul and I love to give, of course, to pour from my full vase. So number 1 is on Facebook, my free community. And that is bit.ly/Mozen Warriors. And the group is called Alive with Jessica Silverman, an acronym that I created, which stands for Alignment of Love, Inspiration, Vitality, and Energy. Of course, the most important. And the free gift that I have for you, talking about finding your purpose, right? Again, rewinding, and maybe I took a misstep, or maybe I don't even know where to start. It's based on a Japanese concept called ikigai, which is your reason for being, right? Your reason for getting out of bed every day, for making moves, that purpose, that higher purpose that makes you feel like you're making an impact in the world. And it's called Finding Your Ikigai for Passion and Purpose. And the way to get that freebie to kind of bring this to life is bit.ly/my reason for being. Can you hear me? Oh, I don't think we can hear you.
Oh, no. Teenage.
Oh, okay.
Gotta love it.
Couldn't hear you for a second. I'm like, should I be talking?
Oh, my goodness. No, so I was sitting here and I was like, yes, that is, oh, man. So many things that we could say because, like I said, when it comes to us as entrepreneurs, us as speakers and authors, guess what? This is a journey. There's no one size fit all. There is no perfect plan. There is none of that. Mm-hmm. So as we say yes to the opportunities, as we say yes to going on this journey, we're going to encounter so many different things along the way. And it's having the right people in place and having the right people surrounding you in order for you to not only access the information you need, but also get the support. Again, if this is the journey that you're on and you're figuring out now that, you know what, you're kind of just running up against a brick wall, then reach out to Jessica. Why? Because guess what? She may have exactly what it is that you need, and she may be that exact person to help you say, you know what, maybe it's not that I need to go through the wall. Maybe I need to go over it.
Yes.
What are some ways for me to go over the wall? What are some ways for me to go around the wall? It's not always through that is the only option, because sometimes that's the hardest option and that's not really working smart.
Yes. Yes. And sometimes we don't need to bring the past to life, right? Like that's a lot of what, they do in therapy. And I remember when I first started out, people were like, oh, this is like therapy. I'm like, well, I think coaching is a little bit different. Therapy focuses so much on the past, right? And bringing that to life. And yes, the past is here to show us who we are today, right? What got us here. But what's going to get you forward is what you do right now, right here in this moment. So beautifully said. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. I really have enjoyed it. I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
So guys, oh my goodness, I loved it. I love this episode. Make sure that you let us know if this episode resonated with you. bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast Show, all lowercase. Make sure you go over to iTunes and leave a review. And if you are a speaker, an author, or a coach, I would love to have you on to get your perspective on what it is to be a professionally paid speaker and author. bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast. I am your host, Altvise Pelzer, the voice coach, professional speaker, certified life coach, Amazon bestselling author, and founder of the World Voice League. Guys, we love you, because without the studio audience of the Speakeasy Podcast, there would be no Speakeasy Podcast. So we appreciate you guys. And until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.